Welcome everyone to Ragtime Journey number 4. Ragtime is a series where we exploring the ins and outs of retrieval augmented generation, or as we most call it, RAG. Gia, what are we going to talk about today?
Hi, everyone. Today we're going to talk about RAG for all your data. Specifically, we're going to delve into indexing multimodal data and beyond.
Beautiful. And that is an important and exciting topic, but I don't want to get in the way of it. But before we do start, we have an amazing interview with Henk and Yina, and they're going to talk about more about optimizing RAG and RAG flows. So let's hear that first.
Hi everyone, I'm Henk and today I'm thrilled to have Yina, VP of Azure AI Foundry, joining us. Yina, it's great to have you here.
Thank you, Hank. It's so nice to meet this group for this event. Thank you for having me.
Today we're diving into an exciting topic, how indexing multimodal data and scaling RAG workflows can empower both developers and businesses. Yina, developers are working with more diverse data types than ever: text, images, audio, you name it. Can you tell us why multimodal workflows are so important in the context of RAG?
Absolutely. So, Hank, just think for a second the amount of information and the different types of modalities of data that you interact with every day. It is not just text. It goes beyond that. It goes into images, it goes into videos, it goes into audio, it goes into the ability to enable all of the applications that you're building to interact with the world in a very seamless way. And it goes beyond just the text to text based interaction. Because of that, multimodal workflows are becoming increasingly important for any developer that is infusing AI into their applications because they help understand and process information from all of these different various data types and just bring how the information that the applications are driving brings that context into their applications because today's information landscape is not just about one single format. It's not just about text-based data, right? So by integrating all of these multiple modalities, developers can create richer applications that more intuitively interact with and closely mimic the world that we live in. So actually, one key example that I like about multimodality, my favorite actually right now is just recently, last week, we released the GPT-4o real-time and audio versions of our mini models. And we're already seeing customers use those models to revolutionize customer service experience. We have customers that have integrated them into their agent experience applications to drive customer satisfaction, and they're already seeing that move into a very positive direction because they're going from the old bot type of experiences where they had very fixed type of options and remember all of those times that you had a call customer service call when you call in and then you quickly want to say representative, bring me a human, please give me quickly trying to get to talk to a human instead of going through the automated or the agent or the technical based experience because it wasn't very good, right? Now, what we've seen customers do is they take this multimodal model, especially around audio, and they are completely revolutionizing the experience because it really understands, it can drive the conversation, and it can really provide a great experience for the customers. So imagine a virtual assistant that not only understands and responds to text queries, but can also interact through voice, leveraging all of the data that you already have, right? Bringing in all of that data in context with RAG capabilities. That way, your customers can speak their queries and the assistant, the agent can understand in a very natural spoken language. So those are some of the things that we are empowering with our platform with Azure AI Foundry to enable developers to take all of these different modalities of information that we have around the world and the combination of that and AI and infuse those into your applications.
Oh, that is great. But it kept me thinking, dealing with all these different types of data all together at once sounds very challenging. How does Azure AI make it easier for developers to get started with these multimodal workflows?
Yeah, that's a great question, Hank. We know that working with diverse data types can be very complex. And our product, Azure AI Foundry, simplifies this by offering a suite of ready to use tools and models that handle all of these multimodal capabilities seamlessly. So, for example, when it comes to customization, we offer fine tuning capabilities that go beyond just like text based data. Fine tuning is this process that like takes all of these pre-trained models like GPT-4 or GPT-4o, and then you can further train these models with your specific data set to specialize it for your unique use case. And like this makes it very easy and demystifies the concept of like going and teaching a model about like your specific domain information, whether it is like terminology or whether it is like data sets or nuances that are like coming in from your specific use cases. So imagine like you're developing a legal consultation bot or like an agent. And like then you can take all of these legal documents, the language, the jargon, and use all of that information to fine tune a model that then enables that model to provide more accurate and relevant responses in all of these legal contexts. So Azure AI Foundry provides all of these straightforward tools to facilitate this process, to making it very accessible, even if you're not an AI expert. It's all about like curating the right data set, uploading it to a fine-tuning job, and off you get. Like you get a model that is being fine-tuned for your specific data sets. But fine-tuning is not the only thing. We also have a comprehensive set of tools that help developers with prompt asset management, with evaluation on your data. And this evaluation on your data is not just for text, again, it's like supports other modalities for monitoring, for tracing, for experimentation, if you want to run online experimentations, A/B testing, and more. And all of these set of tools that like you will use as a developer, whether you're going through like the model selection process or like model evaluation or like looking at like once you have like build your applications, seeing it, how it's behaving in production, all of that, like we have those capabilities in the product in Azure AI Foundry for you to use and like leverage, whether you're building a brand new app or you're like taking what we call a brownfield app and like adding a new set of scenarios that are powered by AI on that application.
As businesses grow, so their data grows. So scaling these workflows must be a big challenge. How does Azure AI help organizations handle this growth?
Mm. Scaling is always top of mind for every developer as they go from the help the graduate their applications all the way into production and then scale them to all of their customers. Of course, is indeed a very critical challenge as application grows. And not only Azure AI Foundry, but Azure overall is designed with scalability at its core. So when you're using advanced models, like for example, all of the ones that we offer from OpenAI, like GPT or like our new reasoning models, the newest version, which is O3 and O3 Mini, we ensure that your applications can handle that increased load without having to sacrifice performance. So our infrastructure provides a very robust set of capabilities that automatically adjust to your workload demands. You can either we have product shape offers that go from token-based consumption, right, to like offerings that go where you determine a specific latency point and like then you can deploy based on that. Or even if you're not necessarily having to like your application doesn't have real-time needs, we also have options to like more offline batch set of scenarios that like can enable you to scale and process a large amount set of information that you don't necessarily need that like real-time set of like requirements. So like within a 24-hour SLA, you can process a whole bunch of amount of information with our batch service. So all of those set of like experiences we have in order to like support customers to scale their features, and they're not having to worry about the underlying infrastructure as their volume grows. For example, if we have an application that is doing image recognition and voice interactions and all of these different set of like multimodalities, Azure AI Foundry offers the infrastructure that scales seamlessly to meet the demands of that application, handling spikes, making sure that the usage is smoothly and efficiently. And we also have distributed processing to make sure that data, that all of the data management and like the scaling of like your application goes smoothly as like as you bring it in market. The other thing that I wanted to mention, which was in your question as well, Hank, was like the scale of the data, right? um, when we think about the set of offerings that Microsoft has on data, like we have the most robust set of data offerings with like our product Microsoft Fabric and all of the capabilities that Microsoft Fabric offers to OneLake to like manage data at scale and to help customers manage their enterprise data assets, right? And like if you think about it, all of the set of applications that like developers are going to write, like they have to have this combination between data and AI, right? Like it's kind of like the output is only going to be as good as your input, and the data is a core asset as you develop their application. So the nicely tightly integration between Microsoft Fabric and Azure AI Foundry is like there to empower developers to really meet the needs of like the development between managing your data state and like bringing AI into those applications.
Great. I am at a lot of events and talk to a lot of developers, and I hear that latency can be a bottleneck for a lot of AI workflows. You tipped already a little bit on that part,
Yeah.
but what is Azure AI approach to keeping everything running smoothly, even for real-time multimodal queries?
Well, you're absolutely right. Latency is a crucial factor for every application, especially for applications that require real time interactions. And at Azure AI Foundry, we've implemented several strategies that helps us minimize latency and make sure there's a smooth operation. Even when you're dealing with complex models like GPT-4o or o1 or o3 or models from our other model providers, because we don't not only have models from OpenAI, we also have models from other providers from the industry, Mistral and from Llama and from Cohere and many more. First, some of the techniques that we use when it comes to like making sure that we meet latency expectations is intelligent caching and making sure that like frequently asked data for model outputs are cached closer to the computational resources. And that significantly reduces the round trip times and the network latency across all of the different set of calls. Azure runs on over 60 plus data centers across the world. We have our services running on 28 different regions across the world. In addition to regional based services, we have a global service that again, like we have this affinity from where the request is coming from to where we can closely serve that helps us like greatly optimize. I think about like this huge compute infrastructure that we have across the world helps us really optimize the latency from serving to from customer to serving that request. We also have all of the the so I mentioned regional, I mentioned global, and then like we also have like all of these like different product shape offerings, right? Like we have a provision throughput offering in which you like the latency point is fixed. So like in that case, you don't have to worry about it, right? Like you come in, like you provision the service, and like we guarantee we have a latency guarantee. So in terms of like how much do you have to worry about all of the different about scaling and about latency and about all of these different things, like yes, they're all concerns that you will have to worry about as a developer. But again, like the infrastructure that we have in Azure and in Azure AI Foundry makes sure that like you can meet those needs as your application goes from ideation all the way to production.
Gina, this has been an insightful conversation. I learned a lot. I hope you all learned a lot. But for developers who are just starting with RAG and multimodal workflows, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, well, that's a very broad question, Hank. Let's see. Mm, my advice is that you start to embrace a phased approach. Um, there's a lot of customer conversations that I'm having where like organizations don't necessarily know where to start, and they there's a lot of misconceptions. For example, like in the context of a multimodal conversation, it's only text. It's only kind of like that chat-based experience. So they kind of like mentally frame it into like that's the only thing that you can do. Not really. The technology has advanced so much that you can build so many different types of scenarios. And so my advice is always, okay, start with by clearly identifying what is the problem that you want to solve. What is the best user experience that you can provide, and how can then you infuse the technology to help you deliver on that great, outstanding customer experience. For example, you might want to develop an interacting agent that can help you answer customer questions, that can help you like look and interpret images that they send, that like can have a all of that interaction through voice. We just recently had a customer in Australia who was doing a really great integration of like patient intake. They are in the healthcare industry, and they're doing patient intake on like using our audio models to like do like all of the tedious form. Remember, every time that you go to a doctor and they like give you the paper set to like fill in, well, how just rethinking that process in a very, I will say, more customer friendly way, where it is like through a voice interaction as opposed to like having like that person like fill in the blanks on all of the forms. And like just it's just like really looking at what is the use case, what like how might I bring technology to really like drive a more delightful experience, and then like start from there, right? Then leverage all of the powerful set of tools that we have available. Like Azure AI Foundry really is from end to end the best set of like platform experience that you can have to build AI into your applications. Whether it is that like you're starting from scratch and like thinking about like, okay, have the use case and I'm going to, or if you are adding AI to a new an application that you've already developed, not new, but like it's already there. We have all of the set of technologies, great integration with the developer tools, and you can quickly tap to like models from all of the different providers. I mentioned we have OpenAI, but we also have models coming from other set of providers, and not just models that like help again on the text-based iterations, but multimodal reasoning and all of these different set of capabilities. I also quickly touched on fine tuning. I think that fine tuning is kind of like one of those hidden gems. Like people maybe like initially were not necessarily looking or paying too much attention to that. I think that it is a great way to take a pre-trained model and really like narrow down its focus to like the specific domain and data set. Like think about it as a progression of like how do you think about engaging with AI. It starts with prompts, and then you go to graph. Fine tuning is another set of techniques, like distilling. So, like, there's many things that as a developer you can do to take a model, to take us like or look at your end-to-end solution and drive optimizations on performance and cost along the way. And then I think that 2025 is the year of agents, and we're going to start seeing more and more about agent capabilities all up. So exploring agents and how you will automate and manage the interactions with your applications. Agents can handle tasks, can like route user queries, can manage conversation flows, can access knowledge bases, and all of these, like, again, set of capabilities. We just actually last week released the user experience for our new agent service that we announced at Ignite. We have at Microsoft great capabilities for multi-agent orchestration that are coming in from semantic kernel. We also have outstanding advancements on the research and like of new capabilities that are coming from Autogen, which is our research and science-based team, like how they're advancing all of those, and like all of that, all of those investments we're bringing together in Azure AI Foundry. So as a developer, like you can like take the platform, take the tools, and just like build. The world is your oyster in terms of what you can build, right? So that would be my 2 cents. Take it one step at a time. There's lots for you um to like learn, but also like there's so much potential in terms of like how can we disrupt experiences across our applications.
Thank you for that advice, Ina. We need like an AI to summarize that in a list of bullet points.
I have a service for you.
I was thinking that. Oh, thank you so much for all these insights in Azure AI Foundry. And
Mhm.
to everyone watching, don't forget to explore Azure AI tools and resources to take your workflows to the next level. Now we're handing it over to Korey and Gia as they deep dive into indexing, multimodal, and beyond.
Henk, thank you so much for having me. Everyone, I can't wait to see what you will build. Remember, ai.azure.com. That's the only place that you need to go to get all of your tooling from Azure AI Foundry. See you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Henk and Yina. You delivered as promised an amazing interview. And now we're going to do a little tech talk. We're going to actually see some of the stuff that we've been talking about in motion with Gia. So, Gia, you mentioned earlier we're going to start looking at the indexing multimodal data. What's that process like? Like, can you take us from the beginnings of that?
Absolutely, Corey. So indexing multimodal data is foundational for RAG because it allows us to efficiently retrieve and generate contextually accurate responses from diverse data types. So by organizing and embedding data from different multimodalities like text, images, and audio, we enable our AI system to access a rich tapestry of information that can enhance the quality and relevance of the generated answers.
Nice. And I mean, I'm a big fan of data. Data and me are best friends. But I know one thing about data is that we need to prepare the data before we actually do an ingestion. So, what kind of does that role in the process play? Like, how are we preparing this for all of this multimodal goodness that we're going to show?
Alrighty. So this step is crucial for ensuring that you get the right data into your index. So we're going to start first with data ingestion and preparing your data for RAG and before it gets to index. Okay. So the first thing is that when you are streaming data to the index, you need to make sure that you prepare and you structure data, enrich data for indexing because you may have data from multiple sources. You need to make sure the standardized data for smooth RAG pipeline integration, tailor the data for preparation to unique RAG use cases because all of the use cases, depending on what your customers are looking for, will be different. You need to focus on your user priorities and understand what type of answers are they expecting so you can weight different factors and give priority to what they're looking for. And finally, optimizing multimodal data handling with weighted vector fields and make sure that you are giving them what they're looking for.
Another thing on the technical side, though, like, what about integrated vectorization? How does that actually support RAG?
Well, integrated vectorization is quite important because this is the way that Azure AI Search provides the developers with a streamlined process to get their data from their data sources to the index, and in the middle to be able to crack their data, enrich it, make sure that is chunked, and finally embed the data to prepare for the index. And at the same time, at query time, to give you the same embedding model that you use that indexing time so you can perform vector queries properly and have semantic uh, capabilities at query time.
Nice. And maybe you could show us a quick demo of all this sort of working.
Oh, absolutely. So the first thing here, we're at the Azure portal and I'm in a demo search service, Azure AI Search. And basically, the only thing that you need to do first is to come to the Overview tab, go to Import and Vectorize Data, and then we're going to ask you for a set of we're going to have a set of steps, and we're going to ask you for different information that we need from you in order to perform this. So the first thing is we're going to ask you for your data connection. We have multiple data sources that are supported, like blob storage, table storage, ADLS Gen 2, OneLake, Cosmos DB, SQL. So I'm just going to choose, for the sake of this exercise, the OneLake And I have pre-populated this because I have been working with one of my lake houses in one lake. So this is why it's showing as part of the drop down menu. But basically, all you have to do is go to the one lake house where your data is located and paste your URL. And then if you have any folder that you would like to ingest data from, copy it here. And you will select a parsing mode and connect with a system assigned identity after you provide the proper permissions. And the next step is that we're going to request for your embedding model that can be either an Azure OpenAI embedding model, AI Foundry embedding model, and actually, if it's outside of the portal as well, you can use your own custom embedding models as well. So I'm just going to pick one that I have for um, Azure OpenAI, and I have a few deployments of different embedding models. So the first one adding here is the text embedding 3 large. And I'm going to just acknowledge that connecting to this service will incur into some costs because you're using another service. And I can vectorize images. And this is like based on the conversation that we have today. This is what it gets really interesting because you can see that I already selected another model that is just for text. So this part is specific to vectorizing images. So you can ask the service to vectorize your images as well with a different embedding model. So in this case, I'm going to pick the vectorization from AI Vision. And finally, also, I'm going to pick another account that I have for all-in-one. In this case, it's a multi-service account from AI services. And I'm going to say, hey, I also need OCR over my images. I want text to be extracted from my images as well. That's important for my use case. I can also tell in the system I want this functionality, and I enable semantic ranker by default. So any type of question that I do doesn't have to be exact, but has to be semantically similar. And finally, I'm going to say, I'm just going to run it once because this is a demo. And I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to just add here test. So you can see that this is the one that I'm creating. And finally, as you can see, in about 5 steps, we have all of these steps that are part of integrated vectorization, from gathering data from the source, making sure that you can enrich your data, chunk your data, embedding your models, and then having the data in the index in a few minutes, right? That this helps a lot streamlining the process for our developers.
That's incredible. Five clicks. There's not. I mean, I can't send an email in 5 clicks, so that's pretty impressive. There's a lot of other services, in the background, and also things you're using. One of the questions, I was looking at is like, how we sort of integrate Azure Document Intelligence in this, and how does that sort of enhance the process?
So we have, as part of the process of integrated vectorization, calling other services like you've mentioned. In this case, document layout as part of the layout model for document intelligence, you can call directly as a native service from Azure AI Search. And this you can do also from the Azure portal that I've just shared with you. It's available in specific regions, so it's going to show up only when available. So, but at this time, it's basically you can pick this layout skill, and what it's going to do is it's going to crack and parse your data and chunk your data, but taking into consideration structure of the document. So let's say you have a Word document, it has sections. So it will recognize the structure and create a markdown file, and we use that markdown file in order to create the mapping to the index in order that it respects the sections of the document, which is very important for users because in this case, you are telling basically the large language model what is the structure of the service, and it will know exactly what answer to provide to the user. Okay, so this is it's really a way of Azure in AI search indexers to handle complex scenarios and making sure that the tables, the any kind of headers, sections in your documents, they are respected also from the index end, and that in order to provide better relevance to your users.
Nice. And obviously relevancy is a key, and also just like the understanding of the content. I hear we have this service called Azure Content Understanding. Can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Absolutely. Azure Content Understanding is a very recent service that we released from Azure that is specialized in multimodality inputs. So it's very it's really time. It comes in a timely manner in order to help us with multimodal scenarios, because it helps us getting documents, images, video, audio, and other types of data, and making sure that there's this content extraction, normalization of data, and add-on capabilities like speaker recognition, layout and structure, face grouping, and it actually extracts data into structured fields. So that's how you're able to map from this service into Azure AI Search. This is not currently natively supported as the previous skill, but you can call this service from a custom skill, basically from an Azure function within the Azure search pipeline. And you are able to basically map the fields as your scenario required. So it's something that you're able to do today, even without the service supporting the skill natively, which we plan to do in the
Very
coming
nice.
months.
Amazing. And it, the R in retrieval augmentation is, I mean, is retrieval. The R stands for retrieval, as I just said. And that's important, right? We're talking about making queries. And in my head, it's easy to understand, querying text, that's text to text. But querying, videos, audio, that's a bit harder to, I think, comprehend, at least for me. Can you talk about some of the, query techniques that are out there? I know I've heard things like multi-vector and cross field vector searches. Is like, how do those actually work? How do you make them effective for multimodal data?
So, Corey, what we've been discussing before, it's related to getting the data ready to the index and preparing the data before it reaches the index. When we talk about multimodal scenarios, we need to take into consideration the query time as well. So this means that we need to think about our users again and make sure of what's important to them, which fields are they looking for, right? So in this case, we have some techniques like multiple vector fields per document and cross field queries in a way that you can look for a single term throughout multiple fields that share the same embedding model. So in this case, let's say you have an Azure OpenAI embedding model, and you have them all basically using the same model. You're able to do a cross field search with it. However, we also have other types of, of search, such as being able to have multiple fields, all of them with different embedding models. So in this case, you're able to have multimodal for text, multimodal for that will handle text, that will handle another field that would have video that has been embedded, other one that has an image that has been embedded, and that you're able to look throughout all of these domains and at the same time get the answer that you're looking for. It doesn't have to be with the same embedding model. So that helps us with multimodality, because in this case, you're able to say, hey, I really want to find my data no matter what the embedding model is, and throughout all of these types of data. So in the same way, we also have another technique that helps in this scenario, which is vector weighting. So if you are looking for specific fields that are really important for your users, you might know that a specific field like title or any let's say a category within your index is more important than other fields. So in this case, just like we're seeing in the screen, we have weight. In this case, we're saying, hey, I want to provide more weight to the specific field in order to make sure that it's scored higher than other fields. So this helps us as well with the types of scenarios, making sure that we assign importance to different data vectors to influence the search results, and getting more relevant and context-aware search outcomes.
Very, very nice. And I mean, this has been an incredible session. I wish to say that, RAG was the hello world of generative AI, because it's great to get started, but this just shows you the amount of, optimizations and enhancements as developers that we can start to, build on. Where would you sort of suggest developers get started with, more of these advanced techniques?
I will be more than happy to provide the links that come with this session. We have a great repo in GitHub, which has several of samples for vector search and hybrid search and multimodality, end-to-end scenarios for vectors. And what we've discussed here, such as integrated vectorization, we're able to find here in code in a way that you are able to actually make any changes and use your custom code. And also, you can find here some other samples for cross-field vector search and multi-vector search and all the techniques that we found here. It's pretty easy to get started, because what you have to do is basically to follow up the instructions about loading some environments into your VS Code and make sure that you can run with your own variables.
Great. It'll be great for people to get their hands on this, work with the repo, and actually, make some adjustments and just see how things, change from performance and evaluation perspective. I think that's always super interesting. So thank you, Gia, for this enlightening session. Thank you, Henk and Yina, earlier for their interview. And thank you all for watching this portion of the Ragtime session.
Let's recap what we learned in RAG for all your data. Why RAG for all your data? That's because ingesting multimodal data effectively helps us weave a richer tapestry and improve the quality of our responses. We need RAG pipelines to streamline the data ingestion and prep process, with steps for enrichment, standardization, adaptation, and optimization. Integrated vectorization in Azure AI Search can automate and smooth the process using built-in skills at various stages of the pipeline. Document intelligence is a native skill in Azure AI Search that can support AI enrichment with parsing, chunking, and embedding strategies. Document understanding is a new Azure service that specializes in multimodal data inputs with content and field extraction in focus. Content extraction uses AI enrichment to analyze content and semantics and create structured data with that additional context. Multimodal data means multiple vector fields per document. You can now use cross-field queries or mix and match results to get your optimal response quality. Plus, use vector weighting in your query to assign importance to the subset of fields that meets your user or business needs to prioritize quality of responses.